Good morning, students. In your last video session, I have told you about the function call with two methods. First is call by value method and second is call by reference method. We are discussing these two methods. Today, we are discussing types of function. Okay. That means passing arguments to a function. Depends on this passing arguments, we can divide a user-defined function into four types. So, arguments are the value specified during the function call, okay, for which the formal parameters are declared while defining the function. So, the function user-defined function can be divided into two parts, either with arguments or without arguments. So, in with arguments, declared and defined with parameter list, okay, and the values for parameter passed during call. If we are using with arguments, for an example, int sum, int x and int y. So int x and int y are the arguments of the user-defined function sum. When sum is called within the function, user-defined function, the values 10 and 20 are passed by through the arguments x and y. Okay. So this is the another one part. Another part is without arguments, no parameter included. Okay, and so no value passed during function call. For an example, int display, that is the declaration with no arguments, and display will call. So how many types of user-defined function? First type is function with no arguments and no return value. Second is function with arguments and a return value. Third is function with arguments and no return value. And fourth is function with arguments and a return value. So, first discuss the function with no arguments and no return value. In such function can either be used to display information or they completely dependent on the user inputs. Okay, so let's take a look of an example with no arguments and no return value. In this example, take two numbers as input from user and display which is greater number. So starts with has included str.h. Next declaration of the function, that is void great num. Now define the integer main function int num, int main. Within the main function great num, the user defined function is called here and return 0. The main function is closed. Next, the void great num, it is the user defined function. Here we are taking two input int ij. So within printf enter two number to compare and using scanf we are taking the inputs %d ampersand I j. Okay, if I is greater than j, we are doing the compare here. Printf is the greater number is I, else the greater number is j. So the output would be enter two number to compare 2 4. We are taking the greater number is 4. Okay, this is the first type, function with no arguments and no return value. The second type is function with no arguments and a return value. We are taking the same example and the user defined function is greatNum. Okay, so starts with has include str.h int greatNum. It is the function declaration. Now define int main. Within the main function, int result, we are taking the variable, and within result we are calling the greatNum user defined function, and after that the printf would be the greater number is result. So in the definition of the user defined function int greatNum, we are declared int ij and greater num is a variable, and printf enter two number to compare, and by using scanf we are taking the inputs %i %j. Now compare the both number. If I is greater than j, so greater number equal to I, else the greater number equal to j. So here returning the result as greater number. So output would be enter two number to compare. So we are taking input to 4. So the greater number is 4. This is the second type. And the third type is function with arguments but no return value. We are using the same example again and again to demonstrate that to solve a problem can in many different ways. So here the function greatNum take two input values as argument, but will be returned anything. So in this example starts with has include str.h void greatNum with the arguments int x int y. This is the function declaration. Now define the main function. There we declare int ij. Printf enter two number to compare, and by using scanf we are taking two inputs. Okay, then we are calling the user defined function, and it's return 0. Then next the void greatNum of int x int y. It is the function definition. If x is greater than y, printf is the greater number is x, else the printf greater number is y. So output would be enter two number to compare. We are taking the same input 2 4. The greater number is 4. It is the third types. And the last is fourth is function with arguments and a return value. In this type, function completely independent of inputs and outputs. Only the logic is defined inside the function body. So the same example is used here. Starts with has include str.h int grant num with the arguments int a b. It is the function declaration. Next, define the main function with the declaration int ij and the result. So printf, enter two numbers to compare. Scanf is using scanf, we are taking the inputs of I and j. So within the result we are calling the function getNum with the arguments ij. So printf shows the greater number is result. Okay, because within the result we are calling the user defined function. Now define the user defined function. Int getNum, the arguments int a, int b. It is the function definition. If a is greater than b, then it's return a, else return b. So output would be what? Enter two number to compare to 4. Okay, so the greater number is obviously 4. Hope you will understood the chapter function which is complete today. Okay, next video session we will go to the next chapter or next unit, that is unit 7. We will discuss. Hope you are all understood the functions with its calling method and the different types of function, how it is called and all that. So thank you once again.